So we're all about getting to that point right now where our account level is getting higher and higher, which means we're spending a lot more resources and it's getting very scarce out here. To help remedy this, what we need to do is lock in 3 characters that we know we're going to want to play for the foreseeable future and decide on one team. So I thought it would be a good time to share my thoughts on what those best teams might be depending on what characters you've rolled on your account. Just a heads up, on each of these teams that I'll talk about, they will contain at least one S rank character, but I have gone through the whole spread of standard and limited characters available to us. So assuming that you at least made your first 50 pulls, which is available to everyone free to play or not, you should find a team on this list that works for your account. So please enjoy. The first team that I'd like to talk about is actually my personal favorite, and that is the Mono Fire team here, which revolves around Soldier 11. So you're gonna need her. If you pulled her as your S rank, congratulations, because she's awesome. I was a little intimidated at first because she was my first as well, and I had heard that she's really hard to play, but the truth is you just have to kind of practice her for maybe 30 minutes, and once you get the rhythm down, it's actually super easy and super chill to play. She's probably one of the lowest APM characters, which is really nice for my boomer hands. So love Soldier 11. Who you slot her in with, it just depends on who you have. I have Koleda and Lucy here, so this is a pretty premium team, but if you don't have Koleda, you could slot in like Ben Bigger, a free character, or same for Lucy, you could slot them in. But I think it's pretty important that you have the Mono Fire. You could make it work with other characters, but this is going to be your ideal. And the idea is you're going to want to use Lucy because if you haven't looked at this lady, she is amazing. She's almost like the Bennett of this game, if you're familiar with Bennett from Genshin Impact, because if I can find it, she has a buff called Cheer On, which is going to buff everyone's attack, sort of like Bennett, and it scales off her attack. She also has some coordinated attacks where she will do her skill and then leave some boars, like some minions on the field that will keep attacking the enemy. Super powerful character. I would definitely recommend investing in Lucy for no matter what team you have, but on this team she really shines. So you buff attack with her, you're going to break with Koleda, of course. Koleda, one of the best stun characters in the game, and then you bring Soldier 11 out and you just kind of play that rhythm game, right? This team is an absolute blast to play. It's my favorite. Like I said, I'll continue playing it into the end game, and I think it's going to be one of the top contenders for the best performing ones as well. So if you have Soldier 11, go ahead and try to put this one together. Next up on the list is another mono element team, and that is the Shock team, which the premium version is going to be Grace, Anton, and instead of AMB, we'll have Rina here, but I unfortunately do not have a Rina yet. But that being said, Rina will be great for this team because she has a pen ratio buff, which is just going to make them do more damage, plus she's Shock, and so she's going to add to that Anomaly buildup. Grace is like the queen of applying Shock because she's an actual Anomaly character, so you can quick switch to her and build that up, and then go to Anton, and he is just going to trigger a huge Shock. And really, as long as you have Anton and one of those S ranks that I mentioned, either Grace or Rina, you can make this team work because he's going to be the driver most of the time. You'll be quick swapping to Grace to help with Anomaly buildup, or quick swapping to Rina to get her buffs up and more Anomaly buildup. And then of course, if you have to run Ambi, she's going to help you stun, but primarily Anton is going to be your guy here who's going to be popping those big Shocks. I think that this is going to do a lot of damage as well. All right guys, let's get it out of the way. We all knew it was coming, right? This is the Mono Ice team, arguably the best team in the game right now because it has our first limited character, Miss Ellen Jo, who is going to be your main driver, and then 2 characters that pair extremely well with her, being Lycaon and Sokaku. Sokaku you can get for free, and these 2 pair really well together, so there's your first 2 as long as you can get Ellen. Lycaon is going to be tough for some people unless they re-rolled, but you can sub him out for another stun character. It's just not going to be as great. How this is going to go is Lycaon is going to be on field and doing all the daze damage, and he also has a debuff that will increase the ice damage that an enemy takes, so that's huge. You're going to daze him with Lycaon, then you switch to Sokaku, who does a bunch of attack by herself, and in addition, she's also going to give the next character an attack percent buff. I believe it's like 15% at base, which is huge, but it's important that it's the next character. So always go from Sokaku into Ellen. Then when Ellen gets out, it's, you know, wipe your hands and just watch her nuke everything down. She is a little harder to play than most people say that she is, but she's still pretty easy, pretty mashy, but a ton of fun. And if you have this team, you're just going to destroy the end game content. Run them all together. You can switch Lycaon out. Either way, this is going to do a lot of big damage. For this next team, I do not have Nekomata, but let's imagine that Billy Kid over here is actually Nekomata, and then he'll be running with Ambi and Nicole, who are all part of the Cunning Hares faction. Nekomata is a great DPS, but the problem with her is she doesn't have a ton of like physical supports to support the mono physical team. So that's why we'll run her with Cunning Hares to activate all of their bonuses. And you know, Nicole is a pretty good support character, and Ambi can kind of help with the stun. Honestly, you could put another stun character here, you just wouldn't be getting their attributes. But yeah, so Nekomata, she's going to be your main driver. Nicole is going to debuff a lot. You can even run Nicole with the ether set to even further debuff enemies and make them take more damage. And then Ambi, of course, will be breaking so that Nekomata can just have all the field time and just nuke them down. I hope that in the future there's more physical supports, because if you try to pair with Billy, they're both going to want field time, so it's not going to work. Same story with Corrin and same story with Piper. There's just not enough good physical units, or at least they all kind of do the same thing, so they really conflict. So for now, if you did get Nekomata, don't fret. You can run her with this Cunning Hares team, but this team will at least activate all of their core skill synergies, so it's probably going to be Nekomata's best team, and also really free to play friendly, so that's kind of a plus too. So you may have noticed in this video that really all of the teams I've talked about so far are all mono element teams, right? They're all focused around the same archetype of like a main damage dealer, maybe a buffer, and then a dazer that's going to do all of your stun and get the enemy knocked down. And they all have to be the same element primarily to just all be working at that anomaly buildup. And that's really because in 1.0, that's all the game supports right now, to be honest with you. There's not a ton of great anomaly characters. In fact, the only actual anomaly character we have is Grace. But I believe that once we unlock more anomaly characters, there's going to be another playstyle that's more focused on causing disorder, which is when you mix the elements, right? And the reason for that is, if you didn't know this, when disorder goes off, it actually does a ton of daze damage on their daze bar. And so you could even just run a disorder team without any stunners. And that's going to be a way you can avoid doing the mono teams and also be forced to run a stunner. As I said, I don't think there's a way in the game right now to make a super viable disorder team, but we do have this one anomaly character. So if you do have Grace, you can put a passable team together. In my opinion, this is something I cooked up. So Grace can stack a bunch of lightning anomaly by herself, and then you kind of have Koleda and Lucy to slowly build up that burn. Neither of them do a bunch of burn by themselves or build up the anomaly very great by themselves, but together, not only is she going to provide good days and then Lucy provide good buffs, but they can do just enough burn to start triggering those disorders. I think the premium version of this team would be to switch out Lucy for Rina, for the buffs, of course, and also Rina is going to provide a lot of lightning anomaly buildup as well, and so that would be pretty good. I haven't tested this one personally, so I can't attest to it, but I think that in the current version of the game, that is going to be the best disorder team that you can get, is Grace, Koleda, and maybe Rina. That is all of the teams that I cooked up for you guys today. I hope that it was helpful. I wanted to make sure that each team in this list included just one S rank character, so no matter what one you got on your standard banner pulls, you could find a viable team and be happy with it, because really they're all pretty good in their own right. I think ZZZ has done a fantastic job of making all of their S ranks pretty darn good compared to other gacha games. If you have any team comps that you've been running that you think are super broken or super fun, please let me know down in the comments. I'd love to see some new ideas. Thanks for watching this far. If you enjoyed it, give it a like. Subscribe to my channel for more ZZZ content. I'll be cooking up all week. So until the next one, I'll see you then. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.